morning. Good morning. Ramona McKee here. Quick to stitch, coffee, and conversation. Bella's with me this morning. She's not going to stay long. Oh, look, Barb's here. Good morning. Good morning. We're going to talk about cutwork embroidery. And one of the things I've been thinking about lately is how to use my stock embroidery designs in not so stock intended. Something's on. I can hear myself echoing in another room. I wonder how that happened. Well, anyways, we'll just have to go forward. I've been thinking about using stock embroidery designs in other ways. Good morning, Diane. So good to see you. Um, so, and of course, the holidays are coming up. So, what a great opportunity to put this to work, right? So, my first thought was cut embroidery using stock freestanding lace designs. I'm going to put Bella down now. She's been such a good girl. There she goes. All right. So, stock embroidery designs. Oh, look. Barb says that she actually has a cut embroidery needle. And for those of you who don't know, these are needles that actually have a cut edge on them, much like your Cricut uh, cutting blade. And what it does is it will actually cut the fabric. Now your design has to be specifically designed for that, and you don't use any thread because you're cutting the fabric as you go. Um, but it's something to look into if you have an embroidery machine that you can turn the thread sensor off, because remember I said you're not using thread. So it's if you're not using thread, the machine's going to stop and say you have a broken thread. But anyways, that's an idea. But we're going to do this. Mandy, uh, ladies and gentlemen, my good friend Mandy uh, lives in a whole nother state. I get to see her maybe once, twice a year, but it's always good to see her. Um, so we're going to do this the old-fashioned way. We're going to use, and I had them here, of course. You know, my desk is always a mess. We're going to use tiny duckbill scissors. Whatever did I do with those? I had them here specifically for you guys. Unless one of the cats got them. So, anyways, how do you decide what file to use? Well, if you go to the internet and search add to scene freestanding lace, something, and you can see there's like, hello, Doug, good morning. There's like thousands of them. Um, there's something you want to look for. Remember, you are going to be cutting away fabric underneath. So just like applique, you want to make sure that there's enough width in a satin column to cover where that thread cut is. Uh, let's see here. For example, here's one right here. Do you see how wide that is? That would work really well for a cutwork piece. But out here, you wouldn't want to cut this because it's too narrow. So those are things you need to look for. What I did was I went into my freestanding lace uh, folder to see what I had. And I have several pieces here, but I decided on this snowflake set. And I'm only going to use 4 of them. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. Good afternoon, Frank. I forget, Frank is like a few miles away in a whole different time zone. Okay, so maybe he's 3 or 4 time zones. But anyways, I decided to pick these snowflake pieces. Let me get rid of this. And there they are. Now, with every freestanding lace project, especially with stock designs, you want to test stitch. You want to run the files Why can I never find my mouse when I need it? There it is. You want to hoop and run the files to make sure that they're going to hold together. Yeah. Yep. You want to make sure they're going to hold together. Doesn't do you any good to do a freestanding lace project if that project's going to fall apart on you. 4 in the afternoon, your day's almost over, Frank. He says it's 4 p.m. That's a couple of time zones. And like I said, your day's almost over. I hope it was a good day for you. So I stitched all of these out. And I rinsed to make sure it was good. Yeah. Now, once I've decided that, yes, this is the project, this is the design file I want to use, the next thing I have to do is decide where I'm going to trim. And what I did was I took a screenshot. I took a screenshot of the design files and I brought it over into Paint. And from Paint, I decided where I was going to cut the fabric. All this yellow represents fabric cut. This is where I'm going to trim. Are we okay so far? This one's going to get a little trickier, but I think it'll make a beautiful piece once it's done. So I'm using my stock designs. I've tested my file. I know it's going to hold. And now I have decided where I'm going to do the cut. I'm going to cut all of these yellow areas out as I'm stitching. Now, one of the things my lace pattern does not have is it does not have any way for me to stop the file to do the trim work. Now, we're going to do a little bit of digitizing. And if you have a very base program, very base digitizing software, that you can create just a simple running stitch, you can do this project. Let me pull this down. So again, we have our piece. And we're going to, now I did this for illustrative purposes. I filled in yellow everywhere that I'm going to make a line for the cut. Let me know if I get ahead of you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. So I know that this is going to be fabric. This is going to be open. So I am going to, let's do an orange. I am going to create a running stitch where I need to cut. Now, when I do applique, I create two stitch lines, because I have a tendency to trim through one of them. So this orange line that I just created, I'm going to duplicate it. So now I have 2 of them. Now I also need to cut along this edge. So again with my running stitch, I am going to create a stitch line. A stitch line that will be my cut line. Enter. And again, I like to duplicate because I like to have 2 lines. And then I have one more set of lines I need to do, and that's this outside area. This whole area back here is fabric. I do not want fabric here, so I'm going to make another line, another running stitch. And again, if you have simple digitizing software, it will have a running stitch, and it's just a matter of placing those lines where you need them. Just a simple straight stitch, nothing fancy. Almost done. And again, I'm going to duplicate it. All right. Now, I'm going to get rid of this yellow here. All right. There we go. Now, when I take this to the machine, I am going to program the machine to stitch my orange first and stop. I'm going to then trim away all the fabric bits that I do not want to keep, and then I will continue and stitch the rest of my design file. So of course in this case, this one is backwards or upside down or inside out. So I do need to put my orange in the first stitch position, and then it will stitch the remaining portion of my file. So how do I show you this? Now, I did not want to remove these from the hoop because I want to go and actually finish stitching them. So you get to see this all in hoop. And I'm using, for this project, I found these little cock. Oh, I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could. But remember, we want to, oh, I'm sorry, people. Barb is asking if you can make one star figure and then carousel it. Carousel it just means, in fact, here, I'll just show you. Let me get in here again. Where'd it go? What she is suggesting, and we're just going to do a simple oval here. How's that? What she's suggesting is that we create one element, one part of the element, and then carousel it. We create that one element. We come down here. There's 6 of them. And then we place them and set them. Now, not all software has this feature. And again, we're working with just a simple running stitch. So I think, yes, we could get fancy. But if you're not quite ready for fancy, just that simple running stitch will do. Okay, so again, let me go back here. Oh, hey, Danny. Good to see you. I see Danny over in the Embroidery Nerd Discord channel. Nice to see you. Thank you for stopping in. So, what did I do? Cocktail napkins. Yes, I found these. The inner side of these napkins is a 4x4 space, which was perfect, which is perfect for this project. So, one of the things I did was I found center. Oh, you're welcome, Danny. That's what I do. Danny was thanking me for digitizing tips. Like I said, that's what I do. So I, folded my napkin to find center. I marked it with a pencil, just a little uh, positioning mark. I don't know if you can see that now because, it's pencil, but it tells me where the center of the napkin is so that when I set up my design file to stitch on the machine, I can place the center in the center mark. I used a little bit of temporary fabric adhesive to hold it in place, and I stitched that cut line. They are going to be cute, aren't they? So I stitched that cut line, and because I needed to keep these in hoop, and I only had one 4x4 hoop for this particular machine, I thought I better do this one in a larger hoop. So I stitched the cut line. Then I moved over here and I cut out all that white fabric that I did not want to keep. All right. Now you have to be very, very careful. This is a water soluble stabilizer. This is the stuff that melts away in hot water. You want to be careful not to cut the stabilizer. Yes, I've used 2 layers just in case, but you don't want to cut the stabilizer because if you cut the stabilizer, then you have no foundation for your design file to sit on. You've lost your stabilizing. All right, so we do the stitch, we trim the excess. Yeah, I got more. I did these in stages for you. Then we stitch the remaining portion. Can you see how the stabilizer is still showing through here and the fabric in here? All right. Yeah. And once it's done, Danny, very, very carefully. Um, Let me see. I know I have them here somewhere. I'm looking for my scissors that I had here. All right, we're just going to bake it until we make it, right? I have another pair of scissors here. Now, again, I don't want to take this out of the hoop because I got to put it back on the machine. Thanks, Diane. Let's see. We're going to tilt the camera down just a little bit. All right. Come along, camera. There we go. All right. Can you see this? I usually use a pointier pair of scissors. But since I don't have that, I will use my little seam ripper to get things started and just very carefully make your first slit, and look at that. I did cut through the stabilizer. Okay, it's only a little bitty slice, so let's just make sure we don't do that again. Double check your positioning. There we go. And then we just trim around. You want to trim as close as you can to those stitch lines. Again, the reason I use 2 stitch lines is because I have a tendency to cut through trying to get that close. And you just trim around. You trim around to get rid of the area you do not want fabric in. Does that help? Danny, did you get it? So, we stitched our line. We trimmed our excess fabric. We finished our stitch work. And we rinsed and dried our napkin. And this is what we have. Now, there's still some little bits of thread here. You don't want to cut that. You want to use, I know, do you like it? Danny said that I was being a bit sneaky, with my trim work. So there's still some cut bits. You do not want to trim those. You want to burn them away. And I do not have that with me here because, I'm such a poor person to prep. But I just take a lighter, or I have my spirit lamp, or I have a electric zapper. It's a thread zapper, and you just touch on them and make them gone. The only other thing I would suggest that I did not do here, let me come back to you guys. Um, uh, Use a matching bobbin thread. Yeah, that's terrible, isn't it? But look, isn't that nice? I think, and just a little coaster for on the table. Let me go back here to Barb. Barb's saying, good, yeah, cheaters, meaning so you can see up close. Good light and small tip scissors. Very much so. I um I found these very small, and I really like them for trimming applique in the hoop, or in this case, our excess fabric. I found these, and I found a tiny pair of duckbill scissors, which, I've obviously misplaced because they're not here. And there are things, I was just using them the other day. Okay, no problem. I'll find them. And of course, I'm all about redundancy, so I have like 2 or 3 pair. So that's it. That's Cutwork embroidery. Now, yes, you can Google search. Here, we can do that. Let's go over here. You can Google search, and I always preface with machine embroidery because hand embroidery is a different process. Machine embroidery, Cutwork designs. And again, there are hundreds of them out there. But if you already have stock designs, Oh, that's if you already have stock designs that you really like and that would be suitable for this, do it. It's just simple enough just to create that running stitch so that you have an area where you can know where to cut your fabric away. Let's see. Oh, Barb, I will find a link. Barb wants to know where I got the small duckbill scissors. Um, I will find the link and I will put it in the comments on the YouTube channel. Does that work? Okay. And Danny, I have I have to sometimes read on my tools, paint or string so you don't lose them. That's not a bad. That is a good idea. Uh, I should do that. Did you notice on my seam ripper so I don't lose it? I have a chain. Doesn't always do me any good, but I try. Eric, hello, Eric. Eric is saying that's something that I've never really had much chance or reason to do, but it looks interesting. Love the idea of adapting uh, and existing designs. Yeah, I know. We all have hundreds of stock designs in our design stash. Um, and yes, well, just like with quilting, sorry, Carly's getting in here. She wants to play with the chain. She thinks it's hers. Um, I don't know about you, but I had a tendency to just, it was cute, so I got it. Stock designs. Same thing with quilting. Oh, that's a nice fabric, so I got it. Um, but never used them. Well, here's something that you can do, you can use in another way, in an unconventional way. So that's what we're doing. Now, I want to, and I had this thought last night. I've got another one that I want to do. Again, taking stock design and doing something with it, something that it was not intended for. I think we're going to try to keep that up. If you have a question, if you have a thought, if you have a project that you want me to try, just send me a message. I'll be happy to do what I can. You can reach me at quick2stitch.com, quick2stitch@gmail.com, on Facebook, Instagram. I'm in a couple of different places. So, with that in mind, gonna say goodbye. Gonna give Carly the chain so she can play with it. Um, and thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Oh, wait, I got more. Barb, you're right. A Celtic cross would look beautiful. Okay, I'm going to confess I do not know how to pronounce this word, but I do know it was a belt accessory that had all of your tools on it. Had a little pair of scissors, had your seam ripper, and it just hung around, so they were all those parts and pieces were ready. Thank you, Diane, and you too, Danny. Mandy, you have an awesome weekend. You all have a great weekend. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to scroll down here and press my end. Have a great weekend, people. Fun? Do you have more questions? Do you want to learn something new? Join me at quick2stitch.com for coffee and conversation, and we'll talk about it. Embroidery machines, designs, and business. Hope to see you soon. Bye now.